what's up, y'all? It's Shay and welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a minute, but I did want to come on here and share some tips with you guys on how to be successful in your medsurg class. So far I have taken medsurg 1 and medsurg 2, and I'll be taking medsurg 3 this coming August. And also I should be graduating this year around October, which is around the time I should be finishing up my last classes. And hopefully, like, fingers crossed, like I can take my NCLEX before the next gen rollout, because I'm really not trying to adjust to like the new style of like taking tests and answering like different questions. So I'm really hoping I can take the old version of the NCLEX because I don't need the extra stress on me. But enough of that, guys. I do want to go ahead and get into the video. I don't want it to be too long, so if you like what you see so far, continue watching. Okay, so the first thing I like to do before class start is to get my phone or my laptop and make sure I have my recorder on so that I can, record my lectures. That really comes in handy, especially like if I'm like studying like later on. Like I can always go back and listen. I can rewind, fast forward, or let's say if I got something that the teacher said, I can always go back and listen to my recordings. So that's something that I always do. And if I'm not recording, I have one of my fellow classmates to record it for me, and they'll just send it over to me that way. Also, you can listen to the recordings while you out on the go. Like you can listen to it in your car, like from your phone. Whenever you're out, like visiting like your friends and families, you can like have it on you at all times. So that's another great way for you to study while you're not at home. Okay, so this next thing that I like to do is I like to convert my PowerPoints into a Word document. That way I can start the process of like creating my study guide. And sometimes like the teacher, I have the PowerPoints up maybe like a week prior to the lecture, or there's some cases where the professor may not even post the PowerPoints until like a few hours before class. So if that happens, then I'll just start like converting my PowerPoints during class, or I just wait until the lecture is finished. And there is an option, I believe, on Word or PowerPoint where you can like convert your PowerPoint to Word, but sometimes it can like mess with the formatting, and then you still have to just go through it and edit it anyway. So me personally, I just open up my PowerPoint, and I have another screen, not another screen, but another tab open, a side-by-side tab open. That way I can just copy everything over manually, and then I just edit it like that. And one thing I like about it is that you can change the font, you can change the fonts, and also you can add color, you can add pictures, or whatever you want to add to help you like remember the material a lot better. Okay, so once I've converted my PowerPoints, then that's when I'll start the process of actually like reading my textbook. Now I will say I don't read the entire chapters like from front to back. I only focus on the concepts that the teacher talks about in class, or the concepts that she have on the syllabus. So like let's say if the teacher talks about endocrine disorders, but she only focuses on diabetes, then that's the only thing I would read like within that chapter. Unless the teacher talks about like multiple concepts within that chapter, then in that case I would read the entire chapter. So that's that. Don't read the entire chapters, because for one, you may not have time to be trying to read everything from front to back, and especially with me, I have an exam every week, so like I can only focus on what the teacher goes over in class and the material that's inside the chapter. So that's that. Yeah, so once I've taken notes, like my extra notes, and added it to my study guide, I then go ahead and print it. And then once I printed it and I have added all my textbook notes that I wanted to add, then I will go and start listening to my lecture. And by this time, as I listen to the lecture, I already have my study guide like printed out. So if I hear like concepts that she go over and she constantly like repeats herself, or like she's like really like on a certain thing, then I'll make sure I highlight it or add like additional notes. And only notes that I haven't already put into the study guide. If it's something I already have in my guide, then I just highlight it. Let's see. Yeah, and then I don't listen to the lecture until like I've actually like finished reading, not reading, until I actually finish like creating my study guide. So I listen to the lecture. That's like the last thing I do. Okay. Okay, so after I've listened to the lecture and I handwritten like my notes on my study guide, then I'll go to like tutoring, and then whatever additional information that I find out for tutoring, then I also add that to my study guide. But at this point, I'm just writing, like handwriting everything out. And I feel like when I'm able to like handwrite everything, not everything, but some of my stuff out, like that helps me grasp the material a lot better. And then also I utilize highlighting. That also helps me like remember everything a lot better too. So by this point, like your study guide should be like full of information. Like you should have your typed notes, and then you should also have your handwritten notes on your study guide. Okay, so yeah, so that's that. Now, I do want to say, when you are studying, you do want to focus on like the pathophysiology. You don't have to go too deep into the patho, but you want to make sure that you are able to like understand like what the disease process is and be able to explain it into your own words. Sometimes you will see like test questions that may ask you, oh, well, how would you educate the patient about this disease process? And sometimes they have like two answer choices where one is in like lay terms and the other one like uses like medical terminology. Well, if you're gonna educate your patient on this, then you want to pick the option that's explaining the disease process in lay terms so the patient can better understand it. You also want to focus on risk factors. I mean, that's just black and white. So just make sure you know the risk factors for the disease process. You want to know the clinical manifestations, which is basically the signs and symptoms. Also, you want to know like the signs and symptoms of like complications that may arise from a disease process. So let's use fractures as an example. So let's say if you have a question where they may ask you, okay, like which one of these symptoms would you report to the provider? And let's say they may have like pain, tenderness, numbness, and a red rash on the chest area or something like that. So you want to report whatever, I'm trying to see how can I say this. You want to report the signs and symptoms as like an indication of like a complication. So you don't want to report anything that's already expected, because we know the patient has a fracture. So yes, he or she is going to have pain. They're going to have swelling. So you're not going to run and tell the provider that. What you are going to tell is that the patient has a red rash on his chest, which could be an indication of a fat embolism. So sometimes they try to trick you with that. Instead of putting like dyspnea, which is also an indication of a fat embolism, they use petechia, because you're not really too much focus on it. And petechia is the red rash or the red spots you'll see like on the patient's body. So that's that. So look out for things like that. You also need to know like what are like the early signs and symptoms, and also what are the late signs and symptoms, you know, if it's applicable to that disease. What else? Okay, so you want to also focus on your diagnostic procedures, and also like medical treatment that doctors may use to, you know, diagnose or treat the patient. So you need to know like what would you do prior to that procedure, and also what would you do after that procedure. So it's mainly focused on like patient education. So let's say a patient had a heart catheterization. So you know, like post-op, you need to be monitoring for like bleeding. You need to know like what to do, like if the patient starts to bleed, or if the patient starts feeling numbness in like their limbs or anything. Like you need to know like what to report to the provider. Okay. Also, like if they having some type of GI surgery, or colonoscopy or anything like that, any type of procedure, you need to know like what type of diet they need to be on prior, if they need to fast for the past 8 hours or whatever they need to do. You need to be able to know that information and explain that to that patient. Okay, so it's also important that you focus on like the medications, and sometimes like when they ask you questions over the medication, they can get like really specific. So for instance, let's say if you are learning about cardiac, then you may have an answer choice where they may ask you which one of these medications are used to treat contraction of the heart or improve the contraction of the heart. So you may have a diuretic vasolytic, you may have digoxin, and you may have lisinopril. So of course you want to choose digoxin, sorry guys, because that helps improve the heart ability to contract. The thing that you want to pay attention to is the education part of medications. So you want to teach the patient what foods they should avoid, because certain foods may decrease the absorption of certain medications. You want to teach the patient about which side effects to look out for, what side effects should they seek out medical assistance immediately. What else? You want to know as a nurse, like what should you monitor after giving the patient the medication, what labs to look out for. And another big thing is, like, I think I mentioned like what if they can eat or not, but you want to mention nutrition, like if that's something. But as far as nutrition, not with just medications, but like throughout other parts like the patho or whatever the case may be, you need to be able to educate your patient on the nutrition part if it asks you anything about it. So let's say, well, it may say like teach your patient to avoid vitamin C, but in the book they might not go into depth on like the specific foods that contains high amounts of vitamin C. So you should be doing your own research to figure out what types of foods are high in vitamin C or vitamin K or whatever the case may be. So definitely go over nutrition. If it mentions that the patient needs to avoid certain foods or if they should increase certain foods, then you should know that. What else should you know about medication? Yeah, definitely know exactly what it does. If the patient needs to take it on an empty stomach, I think I already mentioned like side effects and things like that. So that's like the main thing about medications. And sometimes like when you are reading like the book, the medication, they may have like so many side effects and you're not sure like which ones to like focus on. I like to use like a supplemental book, like the NCLEX Saunders book or the ATI book that I have. It really like narrows down everything so that I can only, you know, get the information that I really need for my exam. So that's really good if you're like being flooded with like so much information and you need something to like help you narrow everything down, because that can be like really frustrating. So that's that. So this last part of the information that you want to have in your study guide is your nursing interventions. And nursing interventions, that goes over a lot of things. So you definitely, whenever you encounter like a question that's dealing with like nursing interventions, you want to focus on your ABC, so airway, breathing, circulation. You want to use like your ADPI, assessment, diagnose, and you know, so forth. You want to focus on like patient education. What do you need to monitor as a nurse? What should you do if a complication arises? Did I mention education? I don't know, but educate your patient over and over again if it's important. What else? What else about nursing intervention? What you need to do pre-op or post-op. You know, all of those good things. But whenever you face like a priority question, then you always want to use like your ABCs, your ADPI. You want to use the Maslow hierarchy. and whatever you need to do, just use that, and it should help you choose the correct answer. What else? Oh, and just some like general tips I would suggest. Always practice as many questions as you can. Me personally, I like to use Quizlet because every now and then I might see like a question on the exam from Quizlet, and that's like a free giveaway for you. So definitely utilize Quizlet. Answer those questions at the end of the chapter that's pertaining to the concepts that you went over. What else? Also, I would try to, like, if you don't already, but try to like join like a study group, or find you like a study buddy so that y'all can share each other ideas and like study together. And one thing that me and my group like to do, we like to like quiz each other like prior to the exam to see what we already know. And I think that's a fun way to like help us like learn the material. And if it's something that we still have a misunderstanding about, then that's our opportunity to go ahead and learn that information right then and there before the exam. What else I would like to give you guys before I end this video? I think that's pretty much it. I think I went over some pretty good things about the medsurg class and for you to be successful on your exams. But yeah, if y'all had any questions, just feel free to leave like a comment at the bottom and I answer it. I'm pretty good with getting back to comments or whatever. But other than that, y'all, I appreciate y'all for watching my video. I hope you guys could use some of this information that I provided you with. And good luck on y'all exams. Good luck in nursing school. I know you guys can do it, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.